Hi, my name is Hayden, and I work at the Tie the One Up Foundation. Unfortunately, views have been dropping recently. So unfortunately, we've kind of fired Tie the One Up guy. So instead, we hired Ty the Advance guy.
Here at the studio, we like to advance to the future, and thankfully, Ty the One Up guy is no longer with us. He wasn't helping us advance in the way we wanted to. So instead, we have me, Ty the Advance guy. You can tell the difference. I know it's gonna be confusing, but you can tell the difference between the two of us because I have a glorious mustache. And Ty the One Up guy had an ugly beard, but he's gone. Not our problem anymore. So, to fit the scenario, we're gonna talk about a game series that did advance to the future. Let's talk about Mario on the Game Boy Advance. Or, more specifically, the Super Mario Advance series. With me, Ty the Advance guy. Ty the One Up guy's gone. He's gone. We're better off for it though, am I right?
The year is 2001 and Nintendo had just released the Game Boy Advance. And what better way to sell a console than with classic Mario? Wait a minute, that's not my classic Mario. The Super Mario Advance series, a 4-game sequence of classic Mario games brought over and revised for the newest handheld console.
And let me introduce to you one of the worst named series of all time.
These games consisted of a remake of Super Mario Bros. 2 called Super Mario Advance. Yeah, that's fine, that works. Then we got a remake of Super Mario World called Super Mario Advance 2. Yeah, that's fine, it works as well. Then we got a remake of Yoshi's Island called Super Mario Advance 3. Okay. And then, you'll love this, Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Advance 4. Not only are these very long titles, but they get more and more confusing as you go. Like, look at this one. Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2, Super Mario Advance 3. That's one long title, but I just can't forgive this one. Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Advance 4. Like, why? Why not just remove the numbers after Advance at this point? Make it the Super Mario Advance series, like Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Advance. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Yes!
With these 4 games, you can pretty much play the entire classic Super Mario library on the go. Just throw in Super Mario Bros. Deluxe from the Game Boy Color and you're pretty much there. Now these remakes are all pretty neat in their own rights. Each game is built in the same style of Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo, but with added voice lines, challenges, and for some reason, each game comes with the classic arcade game, Mario Brothers. Is that a bad thing? No, it's a great thing, and in my opinion, it's the definitive way to play Mario Brothers, but we'll get back to that. For the time being, let's talk about the first in the series, Super Mario Advance, Super Mario Bros. 2. No, not you. The weird one. Released in 1988 on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo introduced us to one of the strangest Mario games to date simply due to the fact that it wasn't actually a Mario game. Now, for those of you who don't know, Super Mario Bros. 2 was originally a game called Doki Doki Panic. Doki Doki Panic is a Japan-only 2D platformer featuring 4 different characters with 4 different abilities. Recognize these 4? No? How about now? Doki Doki Panic didn't release in America because it was swapped to Super Mario Bros. 2 to more fit the Western audience, because I'm not gonna buy this, but I'll buy this because it has Mario! One of the best things about Super Mario Bros. 2 is that each character featured their own abilities. Like, for example, Mario, as you imagine, is all around. All his stats are good, everything's pretty even. He's the go-to if you want just a generic experience. But then we got Luigi, the mean green high jumping machine. He may be a bit weaker than Mario, but he sure can jump. Then we got Princess Peach. She may be slow, she may be a little weak, but she can float in midair, which is great for people who are having trouble with certain levels. And finally, we have Toad. He's fast, he's strong, but he can't jump to save his life. He's here for the more skilled players looking for a quick challenge. Now, when I talk strength, I mean how fast the character can pull turnips from the ground or pick things up, because unlike classic Mario, the way to kill your enemies is to pick things up and throw them at them. Or throw your enemies at your enemies. It's fun, but you heard me earlier, it's a strange game. Anywho, that's Super Mario Bros. 2, so let's talk Advance. One of the most important things Super Mario Advance series does is add voice acting. And these can be either some of the worst things you've ever heard and some of the best. And when I say some of the worst, I mean nothing against the voice actors and actresses who did these, because the voices are all great. Their work is perfect, it's amazing. The only problem is, to get it to work on the console, the Game Boy Advance, they have to compress the audio a lot. And it's really funny listening to some of these compressed clips.
Let's go! Super Mario Go! Lucky! Just what I needed. Oh, thank you. This is as far as you go. I'm moving now. Here, have some fun. Oh, no. Yahoo! Here we go. Yeah. Thank you. Leave it to me. Step right up. Get you ready to get toasted. Yay! Lucky! Oh, Mamma Mia! No way!
But in the end, I love these. It gives the game such charm and more personality to each character, and it makes the game so much more fun to traverse. It also included multiple hit combos, which I love. If you chain enough hits on enemies, you can build up a combo, which eventually could get you an extra life. The game is also filled with challenge coins, and when you complete the game, you can revisit each level for the Yoshi challenge, which lets players jump back into each level and hunt for a Yoshi egg. This may all seem like needless add-ons, but for a handheld remake, this is the type of stuff you'd like to see. Imagine you're on a cross-country road trip and you have nothing to do but play Mario Advance on the Game Boy. And you complete Mario 2 and think, man, I sure wish I had more to do. There you go! In my opinion, this is the definitive way to play Super Mario Bros. 2. It doesn't take anything away from the classic experience, all it does is add on to it. Some may be quality of life changes, while others may be extra modes, but this is always my go-to when I want to play Mario 2. You'll notice a pattern in a majority of these games. They're all going to end up being the go-to with a few quality of life changes or upgrades. Speaking of which, let's jump to Super Mario Advance 2, Super Mario World. You thought playing an NES Classic on the go was great? Well, how about an SNES Classic, and arguably one of the best 2D platformers of all time, Super Mario World. Now, there isn't as much to say about this game as there is Super Mario Advance 1, Super Mario Bros. 2, except that this is one of the most well-designed and fun to play through Mario games, and it was Yoshi's introduction. Now, when looking at the Mario Advance series as a whole, this is the one with the least number of additions. There isn't a whole lot added to Super Mario World because it's already amazing. There are a couple of minor changes, like how the game is strictly locked to single player in the main mode because now you have the option to swap between Mario and Luigi at any point on the world map. And this time, Luigi jumps way higher, but also has way less traction. And in more important news, Luigi is now his own sprite, and not just a green Mario. And of course, they both have new voice lines. Yeah, that's about it. And that's not a bad thing. Super Mario World is a much longer game than Super Mario Bros. 2, and it already had challenge coins, which are called Dragon Coins. But let's jump forward to one of the longest titles in the series, Super Mario Advance 3, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. That's all one game. Now, Yoshi's Island is one of those games that I have tried and beat, but just don't really enjoy. And that's not to say it's bad. It's a great game, it's very pretty, well designed and everything. But what I enjoy about Super Mario is the tight, fast-paced platforming, and throwing Yoshi in as the main character, you lose the tight platforming. The game ends up slowing down a whole lot while also losing the challenge due to Yoshi's flutter jump. Yes, I get it, it's still challenging, but I don't know. Again, it's not bad game design, but it just kind of gets rid of the tight platforming for me. It's kind of why I don't like the Flood Pack from Super Mario Sunshine. But that's a different topic. Anyway, Yoshi's Island is a game where Baby Mario and Baby Luigi get separated, and Yoshi has to not only reunite them, but bring them home. And Yoshi does that just by traveling Yoshi's Island with a colorful aesthetic and some of the best Mario music to date. All this game really adds is 6 new levels, and that's really all. But good news, this brings us to the best of the 4. Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. The game's great, I swear, but that name is awful. Awful. On July 11th, 2003, Super Mario Advance 4 Super Mario Bros. 3 was released. This was a remake of one of the best Mario games of all time for the Game Boy Advance. It features plenty of upgrades like voice lines and opening cutscenes and some extra levels. But in my opinion, out of the 4 Mario Advance games, this is by far the best and most well-rounded of them all. Before we talk about anything else, let's talk about the e-reader. And I bet you're probably wondering, what on earth is a Nintendo e-reader? The Nintendo e-reader is an add-on for the Game Boy Advance that lets you scan cards to do certain things in-game. The e-reader was released in North America in 2002 and was ultimately discontinued in 2004 due to lack of popularity. And while it was a neat idea, it only had around 6 games that properly used it. So, it eventually fizzled out. But the reason it's important to this conversation is Super Mario Advance 4 has e-reader capabilities. If you scanned a compatible Super Mario Advance 4 e-reader card, you got access to up to 38 new levels featuring ideas and gimmicks from previous Super Mario Advance titles. Each level is completely new and features items, stage gimmicks, creative course design, and all-around fun ideas mixed together for one big bonus area. This alone is one of the best things about the Super Mario Advance series because these are some of the best Mario levels of all time. Now, I can't imagine getting enough e-reader cards just to play these levels, which is why I'm thankful that not only are they now available on Nintendo Switch Online, but they were also available on Virtual Console on the Wii U, which is where I originally played them. But overall, this really is just Mario 3 with bonus levels, which again, is not a bad thing. Now before I go, there's one thing I have yet to talk about. Back in the GBA days, they loved to package this with every Mario game. All the Mario Advance games got it, and even Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga got it. Okay, maybe not loved it, that's only 5 games, but still, it's weird that it happened 5 times. Now, you all know this game. Mario and Luigi are in the sewers, ridding it of creatures and monsters, but now it's been revamped with better graphics, music, controls, and physics. This is the definitive way to play Mario Brothers. It's been reworked to feel so much more natural than in the arcades, and not to mention, link this up with 3 other players and you're in for one of the most chaotic multiplayer games of all time. Now remember, this whole series is a bunch of classic Mario games revamped for the GBA, which means these games aren't going to look as good as they do on consoles like in Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo. The colors in these games are very bright, and while it does do the job in most areas, it's a little jarring in others. And speaking of downgrades, the screen is much smaller, and while this won't really affect you in Mario 2 or 3, World and Yoshi's Island, on the other hand, have some screen crunch issues making it hard to see enemies off screen and stuff like that. So in my opinion, if you're gonna play these games, you'll get a much better experience on a TV. So play them on Nintendo Switch Online, or play them on the Wii U's Virtual Console, but the eShop's no longer with us, so you can't get those anymore on there. In the end, in my opinion, these are the definitive way to play these classic games. While crispy, the voice lines are charming, and each game comes with some type of quality of life feature or bonus game. I love the Super Mario Advance series, and I'd highly recommend you give it a shot. And I mean, come on. Revisiting the classic Mario games is always a good thing.
Ah, back from your trip so soon, I see. Did you shave? You're not the only one who can grow a sick mustache. Well, I suppose you're here for the channel. It's too late. Numbers are through the roof since I started. You missed. Did I?